Hello, dear friends. There are many historical theories, but this is just a summary. Opinion piece: Fabricated History, Phantom Time, New Chronology, Founding Myths, The Great Tsunami, Unofficial Narrative. Let's start. The creation of fabricated stories or founding myths is a recurring phenomenon for political, ideological, or identity purposes. The mystifying the past is a necessary exercise to rescue the historical truth. Simplified or heroic narratives about the past are often created to justify political ideologies or interests. Some stories are mythologized to hide uncomfortable or shameful episodes from the past, such as colonial violence, slavery, or genocides. Rewriting history is a way of manipulating collective memory. It would be important to question the official narrative to have a more complex and realistic vision of the past. It seems that the destruction of our ancient civilization is much more recent than we imagine. That's why there are so many old photos of St. Petersburg and other big cities in the world, with beautiful buildings but completely abandoned because the people have disappeared. Advances in historical research and access to new sources allow us to dismantle many myths and legends that were taken for granted. Ghost time. The theory of phantom time or ghost time was developed by German historian Heribert Illich in 1991. According to this theory, a time period of 297 years from 614 to 911 AD never existed and was invented to legitimize the claim of Emperor Otto the Third about the Holy Roman Empire. This theory is based on the idea that the Julian calendar, imposed by Julius Caesar, and had a year of 365.25 days, which led to a mathematical error and the addition of 300 artificial years. Furthermore, Ehrlich argues that there is incompatibility between the Julian calendar and the Gregorian calendar, which would support this theory that time was manipulated. This new chronology is a summary of history by Anatoly Fomenko and his colleagues, who claim that different accounts of the same historical events are often labeled with different dates and places by historians and translators, creating multiple ghost copies of the events, poorly dated. This chronology is said to have been largely fabricated by Joseph Justus Scaliger in the 16th century and represents an extensive repetitive series of dates with offsets corresponding to multiples of the great Kabbalistic number 333 and 3600. This chronology was completed by the Jesuit Dionysius Petavius in the 17th century. Theory. The new chronology is a historical theory developed by Russian mathematicians Anatoly Fomenko, Gleb Nosovsky, and their collaborators. This theory questions conventional historical chronology and proposes a comprehensive reconstruction of world history up to the 17th century, using scientific methods and modern mathematical and astronomical techniques. This theory states that ancient events commonly attributed to the civilizations of the Roman Empire, ancient Greece, and ancient Egypt took place in the Middle Ages, more than 1,000 years later. He claims that the history of the world before 1600 AD was altered to serve the interests of various conspirators. The theory maintains that the official chronology is erroneous and that the history of antiquity is introduced into the Middle Ages. The new chronology argues that the Book of Revelation, as we know it, contains a horoscope dated between September 25th and October 10th, 1486, prepared by the Kabbalist Johannes Reuchlin. He also argues that the great inventions such as gunpowder and cannon, paper and printing were made in Europe between the 10th and 16th centuries, and that ancient Roman and Greek statues showing perfect mastery of human anatomy would be fakes made in the Renaissance, when, according to Fomenko, such mastery was first achieved. According to Fomenko, most of the historical events known as ancient and early medieval occurred between the years 1000 1500 AD, and the unconventional chronology would be the result of manipulation and accumulated mistakes. The theory also proposes that the written history of humankind begins early in 800 AD, and that most ancient and medieval historical events would be falsifications to hide the existence of a great Eurasian empire called the Russian Horde, that, according to Fomenko, played a dominant role in the history of Eurasia before the 17th century. Golden Horde. On the other hand, the Golden Horde was a Mongol state that encompassed part of present-day Russia, Ukraine, and Kazakhstan after the breakup of the Mongol Empire in the 1240s. Horde is the Anglification, or the transcription of the Turkish and Mongolian word Ordo or Ordu, which means a big camp. As for gold, it is believed that the name comes from the direction called goat in the steppe. Black represents north, blue represents east, red represents south, white represents west, and golden yellow represents the center. According to other versions, the name would derive from a sumptuous golden tent that Batu Khan built to mark the site of his future capital on the banks of the Volga. The Golden Horde was the European branch of the Mongol Empire, which existed from 1206 to 1368 AD. It began to take significant shape in 1227 under the leadership of Batu Khan. Its territory encompassed parts of Central Asia, much of Russia, and other regions of Eastern Europe. Although they later converted to Islam, the Golden Horde combined aspects of the cultures of Europe, Asia, and the Middle East while rulling Russia for 2 centuries. The Golden Horde was known for its Mongol raids that reached from the Caucasus to Hungary and Constantinople, inspiring fear throughout the world of the fearsome Mongol horsemen, also known as Tartars. Its influence spread from Poland to the Byzantine Empire and from Egypt to Central Asia, leaving an indelible mark on the history of Eastern Europe. The Golden Horde began to show weakness in the 14th century with periods of political chaos. It finally fell into ruin after Timur's invasion in 1395 and the subsequent systematic destruction of the cities of the Golden Horde. Also contributing to its decline was the epidemic and famine that spread across the region. The law of karma took its toll. Seaquake or tsunami. According to Peter B. Mayer, between 1865 and 1876, our ancient civilization was destroyed by a tsunami that flooded large areas of the planet, swept away the inhabitants of Australia, and depopulated large areas. Today, in many places, the first floors of buildings are buried under meters of sand and mud, and the remains of this catastrophe can still be seen in cities around the world. In his opinion, the Strait of Gibraltar, the Pillars of Hercules, the Star Fortress of Tartary, all served to defend and control the important passage of merchant ships from the Mediterranean to the Atlantic or vice versa. History and geology tells us nothing about it, but apparently there was a rise between the Mediterranean and the Atlantic that was mechanically controlled by a system of locks to allow the passage of only one ship at a time. The Great Gibraltar Tsunami refers to the tidal wave caused by the Lisbon earthquake of 1755, which affected the Atlantic coast of Europe, including Gibraltar. The tsunami reached a height of up to 20 meters in some places, such as in Cadiz, and caused devastation on the Cadiz coast and in other regions of Europe. The Lisbon earthquake, which took place on November 1st, 1755, was a large magnitude seismic event with an estimate of 9 degrees on the Richter scale. The epicenter of the earthquake was located on the Azores-Gibraltar fault, where the African and Eurasian tectonic plates meet. The tsunami that followed the earthquake hit the coast of North Africa, the islands of Antigua, Martinique, and Barbados, and the southern coast of England, among other places. In Gibraltar, the tsunami caused significant damage to the city and its surroundings. The Lisbon tsunami of 1755 is considered one of the most devastating in history, and its impact on the Atlantic coast of Europe was significant. The catastrophe also had a philosophical and theological impact on the European Enlightenment, as many thinkers such as Voltaire referred to the event in their writings. New Rome. The New Rome is an ideological concept that was applied from late antiquity to the contemporary age. It consists of the attribution of the imperial heritage of the ancient Rome to a new space in which a political entity is constituted that aims to restore the mythical virtues of that civilization. The first to claim the name was Byzantium, refounded with the name of New Rome by Constantine in the year 330, which became the Second Rome, the new imperial seat in the east of the Roman Empire. Over time, it was known as Constantinople, a city that would guard and protect the Roman Empire until its final end in 1453. The title of Third Rome was claimed by the city of Moscow, since the Russian Empire of the 15th century sought to give continuity to the Roman Empire, but with the Orthodox Christian religion, far from Constantinople, taken by the Ottoman Turks in 1453, and later named with its current name of Istanbul. Furthermore, the concept of New Rome has been used in different contexts, such as the construction of a new Rome in Italy, promoted by Italian nationalists such as Giuseppe Mazzini and Benito Mussolini, who considered it the successor of the legacy of the Roman Empire and the Byzantine Empire. Breaking news. The Bilderberg Club met in Spain. The annual meeting of the most famous club of the world elite was held in Madrid under its usual secrecy and strong security measures. The state of the economy in the West and the future of the conflict in Ukraine, among other topics, were discussed. According to Benjamin Fulford, at the Bilderberg emergency meeting, they agreed that the corporation would be replaced by the restored republic. The Storm Rider explains that Trump's condemnation could trigger the coalition operation. According to Fulford, Donald Trump and Alex Soros are at odds with each other, while Israel is on the verge of being taken over by Egypt and Turkey. Elon Musk says Soros is doing things that erode the fabric of civilization, in his opinion. In any case, it is said that the real Trump has two different doubles. One would be located in Mar-a-Lago, and directs the electoral campaign. The other would be located in New York and participates there in the entire legal drama. The source also claims that Biden is also controlled by the coalition and is ordered to act as he does to help wake up some more sheep. According to this source, allowing Trump to be convicted of minor crimes is part of a psychological operation to wake up the part of the population that is still sleeping. This appears to be having that effect, boosting Trump's popularity and causing a huge influx of donations. Biden calls it reckless and dangerous for Trump to claim that the verdict was reached. China hopes that the Ukraine conference in Switzerland does not become a platform for a new bloc confrontation. Switzerland will host the peace conference on Ukraine on June 15th and 16th in Bugenstock, near the city of Lucerne. Russia will not attend this forum, to which some 160 states were invited. China will not be present either. New solar storm. A solar storm is possible on Tuesday when a wave is expected to brush against the Earth's magnetic field. The flare was launched into space on June 1st by a double solar flare. A sixth magnitude earthquake shakes the west coast of Japan without a tsunami warning. Spain. The French agrarian protest blocks the main crossing of the border between Spain and France. Catalan and French farmers cut the border in 5 points in Catalonia. Spain has almost 24 million tourists until April, who spent more than $31.5 billion. Euros. The Bank of Spain confirms that the Euribor fell to 3.68 cents in May. Americas. Claudia Sheinbaum will be the first president of Mexico after winning the elections with a 30-point lead. Sheinbaum promises a more just and democratic Mexico after winning the presidential elections. Chile will join South Africa's lawsuit against Israel. And that's all for today. Thanks a lot, dear friends.